John the Mouse. This 1915 Mack AB had a 100th birthday party. The Iowa 80 Trucking Museum was a dream of Iowa 80 Truckstop founder Bill Moon. Bill had a passion for collecting antique trucks and other trucking memorabilia. This museum is truly a special place. I have spent several hours going through and looking at all the different trucks and toys. It is so nice that Bill was able to share his love of trucks with others. The Iowa 80 Trucking Museum is a great place for educators to enrich students' learning. Students can browse exhibits and view historic timelines to understand how trucking has changed over time. Bill Moon had a passion for trucks and was always looking for new truck or trucking artifact to add to his collection. There are now over 100 antique trucks in the collection, with 60 of them on display in the museum. They also have 304 original signs and 24 vintage gas pumps. 1946 Bumblebee Studebaker and stock trailer. Engine's a 245 cubic flathead 6-cylinder. Transmission 4-speed. Top speed 45 miles. This truck is a model M16 Studebaker, which were produced during the years 1941, 1942, and from 1946 through 1948. In 1946, 19,450 M16 models were produced. This Bumblebee was built in South Bend, Indiana on June 22nd and was purchased by Mr. and Mrs. Hall in Connecticut. Originally, this truck was a 2-axle, 6-wheeler, 1.5 ton with a standard cab and chassis. Mr. Hall soon hand-built a 12-foot-long trailer to go along with this truck. He also added a 3rd axle to the M16, making it a 10-wheeler, as well as handmade sleeper box, which he mounted to the trailer above the cab of the truck. The truck was restored in 1998 and the trailer in 2001. The Iowa 80 Trucking Museum acquired this truck in 2011. 1942 GMC AY809. GMC 6CU 426 cubic inch 126 horsepower engine. The Spicer 5-speed model 553A transmission. Top speed 50 miles per hour. Originally, this was a tanker truck for the Denver Fire Department in Colorado. It is an uncommon model that includes a sleeper. The doors are also rear opening, suicide, for easy entry. A 1928 Federal 130 Flyer 4-cylinder engine, a 4-speed brown lip transmission, a top speed of 35 miles an hour. This model was built with the mechanical brakes and a Tinkman rear axle. This branded trucks were manufactured from 1916 to 1939 in Oakland, California. The Waukesha Motor Company and the Central Bank of Oakland operated this company from 1932 till 1939. That year, they sold the factory to T.A. Peterman, a logger and a plywood manufacturer from Tacoma, Washington, the founder of the Peterbilt Motor Company. The 1932 Chevrolet Master Wrecker, the Chevrolet 207 cubic inch engine, Chevrolet 4-speed transmission, Top speed 35 miles an hour. This 1.5 ton capacity truck had the same basic engine style from 1929 to 1984, known as a Stove Bolt 6. Engine options range from 194 to 292 cubic inches. The Chevrolet brand was on all the major components, including the rear axle. I have no info on this black International with a green box. A 1955 Mack LTL 235 horsepower Cummins NT6B engine. It has a 5-speed Mack TR720 and a brown lip 8035G auxiliary 3-speed. Top speed 60 miles an hour. Only 2009 of these Mack LTLs were built from 1947 to 1956. This Mack was built in 1955 for the Downing Trucking in Downing, California. A 34-inch aluminum sleeper was added by the Los Angeles Mack branch and later removed for the truck's conversion to oil-filled use. When Iowa I-80 acquired this truck, it was used on tough wrecker calls that required 3 wrecker trucks. (1927) Diamond TGX has a Buddha 4-cylinder engine, a brown lip 4-speed transmission with high and low, top speed 15 miles an hour. The gross weight capacity of this truck is 22,500 pounds. It has the mechanical brakes as well as the Timken front and rear axles. In the late 1950s, the Diamond T Truck Company was sold to White Motor Company, and operations were moved from Chicago, Illinois to Lansing, Michigan. The last Diamond T of 25,000 trucks was produced in 1966. (1954) Federal van. Engine International SD240. Transmission twin coach FV2060. Top speed 45 miles an hour. The Federal Motor Company made trucks from 1916 until 1939, when the factory was purchased by T.A. Peterman, founder of Peterbilt Motor Company. In 1927, the Fageol brothers sold out of the company and began Twin Coach, a company focused on building buses. In 1950, Twin Coach relived the Federal name to build the line of moving and delivery vans. Many components from the International were used to build these vans. The Federal vans were available in models with wheelbases ranging from 108 inches to 243 inches. These vans were only sold through the International Harvester dealers. This particular van was purchased by the Iowa I-80 Trucking Museum in 2005 from Frank of New Jersey. (1937) Mack AC high lift coal truck. Engine 471.2 cubic engine, 4-liter, 71 horse. Transmission, 4-speed with chain drive. Top speed, 20 miles an hour. Mack first introduced the AC model in 1915. Over 6,000 of them were delivered to both the U.S. and Britain's military forces during World War I. A legend surfaced that British soldiers would call for Mack Bulldogs to be sent when facing adversity. So then the nickname was born. The Mack Bulldog hood ornament was designed by Mack's chief engineer and began to adorn trucks in 1932. There were 40,299 Mack ACs manufactured throughout its 23-year production. This AC is equipped with a high-lift dump box on the back. Originally it had a Hell box. Hell started in 1901 as a Hell Welding Company, welding streetcars, rails at first, then tanks and truck bodies. This truck now features a reproduction of that original box. This AC has been part of the Iowa 80 collection since 1980, but was newly restored in 2011. (1934) GMC T23B 221 CID overhead valve GMC engine, has a GMC 4-speed transmission, top speed 35 miles an hour. The trailer, equipped with vacuum brakes, and a fifth wheel were also made by GMC. The T23B has a 3-ton rating and a mechanical brakes. Brand new, the cost was $2,300. This model was owned by Jake Lies of Mount Pleasant, Iowa. He used to haul livestock all over Iowa. His grandson still attends our annual Truckers Jamboree. Trucking vocabulary. For some of you who don't know what these are, shipper is a person that requires freight transportation services and then pays a carrier to transport the freight. Carrier, a trucking company. Trailer, the part of a vehicle used to haul goods and hooked up to an engine-powered tractor. Fifth wheel, a coupling device used to connect a semi-trailer and tractor. Jackknife, a place the trailer at a very sharp angle to the tractor. Lowboy, open truck trailer constructed to provide a low platform height. (1922) Packard EX. Packard 4-cylinder flathead engine. 4-speed Packard sliding gear transmission. Top speed 28 miles an hour. Made in Detroit, Michigan. This truck sold new in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Packard started making trucks in 1903. In 1911, a Packard made the trip from New York to San Francisco in 46 days. It was the first truck to haul freight cross-country. This particular model was made in July of 1922, just 1 year before Packard stopped producing trucks. Packard made all the parts for their trucks. This workhorse has a gravity-operated dump bed. You will find a lot of antiques hiding in the corners. In the movie theater, you will hear about truck drivers talking about their stories of how they got into trucking. 1936 Mack BM had a Mack CE 415 cubic inch 108 horsepower engine. Mack 5-speed transmission, had a top speed of 45 miles an hour. This model of a Mack was made in a 3-ton and 5-ton capability. Manufactured from 1932 to 1941, a total of 3,030 trucks were produced. This particular one has a wood frame cab with a steel covering. It also features a double reduction rear axle. (1930) Ford A snowmobile. 40 horsepower at 2,300 RPM. Ford 200.5 cubic inch 4-cylinder engine. It has a 3-speed Ford sliding gear transmission. Top speed 45 miles per hour with tires. This 1930 Ford A snowmobile paved the way with its innovative skis and mechanical brakes. It was frequently used to get the mail through when the heavier trucks were stuck in the snow. The frame was also used as a Model A car. Tractor. A cab, the engine-powered vehicle to pull a trailer. Lumper. A person who can load, unload the truck. Route. The course or direction that a shipment moves. (1925) Kenworth KS 3-ton. It has a Buda 4-cylinder engine, a Kata 4-speed transmission, and has a top speed of 25 miles an hour. This 1925 KW was discovered 2 blocks from Microsoft's headquarters in Redmond, Washington, where it was used by a construction company to haul dynamite. According to the former owner, this Kenworth KS serial number 2012 is the earliest one known to still exist. This truck is outfitted with a worm drive rear end and has hard rubber tires on the rear. A 1912 Saurer. It has a 4-cylinder, 4-cycle engine, a T-head cylinder, dual cam, 4-speed Saurer transmission, top speed 16 miles an hour. The only American-made Saurer known to exist. Saurers were the first imported in 1908. U.S. assembly started in 1909 by the Quincy, Manchester, and Sargent Company, Plainfield, New Jersey. A 1929 International Harvester HS 104C. Hall Scott 4-cylinder model 152 engine. It has an international 6-speed transmission. Its top speed is 25 miles an hour. In 1929, International Harvester made only 86 of this model out of the 50,000 trucks they built that year. A new HS 104C would have cost $5,500 in 1929. This model is equipped with a mechanical brakes. Also shown is a 2-yard cement mixer powered with a Hercules engine. 1974 Ryder Paymaster R100. The engine is a Cummins VT903. Has a transmission with a Fuller RT910, serial number 75/12094. The Paymaster was designed in the late 1960s by a trucker inventor. He wanted to build a truck that would be more aerodynamic, more fuel efficient, and that was also easy to maintain. The wedge-shaped cab and the roof-mounted spoiler help smooth the flow of air over and around the truck and trailer. After building 2 initial units, the design was sold to Ryder Corporation, who commissioned the Hendrickson to build 10 units for its fleet for testing. Due to the economy at the time and the low driver acceptance, the design was returned. 3 more units were updated designs were built, but there wasn't enough interest in for further production. 1962 White 9064 TV. White Super Mustang V8 gasoline engine. Had a Fuller R63 10-speed transmission. Top speed 60 miles an hour. In 1901, the White steam car was introduced in Cleveland, Ohio by the White Sewing, which at that time was also marketed bicycles, roller skates, phonograph, kerosene lamps, automatic lace, and screw machines. By 1906, the demand was so great for the steam car that the White Motor Company was founded. Trucks that were built under the White name until 1995. This particular White has a V8 gas engine that was very rare for a truck of its size. Most trucks manufactured in 1962 were diesel powered. 1954 Kenworth Coe, nicknamed the Bullnose. It had a 262 horsepower Cummins engine with a transmission Fuller RT910, air ride rear axle, top speed 60 miles an hour. Kenworth manufactured this particular model from 1951 to 1958. The design was quite unique, with a lower and wider cab than later model cab holders. Interesting, the cab doesn't tilt on this model. Any engine work must be performed by removing a doghouse in the cab or pulling the engine through the front of the cab, after removal of the bumper and radiator. This truck was originally owned by Taylor & Martin Incorporated and pulled an auction trailer all over the country. 1925 International Model 63 street washing truck. It has a 4-cylinder 283 cubic inch engine, 4 1/4 bore with a 5-inch stroke. Has 750 gallon water tank. One of the 15,500 trucks that International made in 1925, 2,972 of them were of this model. The Lynch-Cumming design engine used ball bearings on the crankshaft, which is very unusual. This truck was used up till 1957 for street cleaning. A 1925 Douglas. It has a Buda 4-cylinder gasoline engine, has a Fuller & Sons GU 14 4-speed transmission with a top speed of 15 miles an hour. This Douglas is one of only 6 known to still exist. The Douglas Truck Manufacturing Company was founded in Omaha, Nebraska in 1917. The demand for this 6-wheeler grew as a result of a regional truck weight restrictions, and the Douglas had them available before any of the other truck manufacturers. Douglas was the only in business until 1935 and produced a relatively low number of trucks, making them extremely rare. The rig on the back of this Cyclone cable tool drilling machine and was used to bore holes into materials such as rock, soil, and cement. The cable tool drill we know it today, was invented in 1825. It was widely utilized for drilling water wells and later become useful in oil drilling operations on the first modern oil wells in North America. This specific truck and rig made its home in Cedar Bluffs, Nebraska, drilling mostly water wells until 1950. The Iowa 80 Trucking Museum acquired this truck in September of 2010. A 1924 Brockway 2.5 ton. Wisconsin TAV 25 horsepower engine, brown lip 3-speed transmission, top speed 20 miles an hour. A brand new Brockway 2.5 ton would have cost $3,000 in 1924 when this one was made. One could get these in Cortland, New York from 1912 to 1977. In 1956, the Brockway was purchased by Mack Trucks. 1922 White 15 3/4 ton. Had a White 4-cylinder flathead 3.75 bore 5.125 stroke engine, a White 4-speed transmission with a top speed of 20 miles an hour. The White Motor Company, which got its start with steam-powered cars, became one of the leading truck manufacturers in America. The company did not start by producing automobiles, but instead sewing machines. White Sewing Machine was founded by Thomas White in Templeton, Massachusetts, who moved the operations to Cleveland, Ohio in 1876. The first White truck was built by White Motor Company in 1911 under the direction of White's sons. 1923 Mack AB. Has a 1923 Mack AB engine, 4-cylinder. Transmission was a 3-speed, horsepower at 30. The Mack AB model was Mack's first standardized high-volume model series introduced in 1914, replacing the Mack Junior line. The first AB models had a chain drive or worm drive. In 1920, a dual reduction drive replaced the worm drive as an option. This medium-duty truck's simple, classic styling made it very popular. The Mack AB was produced through 1937. Over 55,000 units were manufactured. 1945 Ford fuel tanker. It has a 239 CID flathead V8 engine with a 4-speed transmission and its top speed of 45 miles an hour. This 100 horsepower truck has amazingly 3,300 original miles on it. The truck was originally sold as a fuel tanker, but converted to a water tanker by the fire department that purchased it. I don't have much information on this 1931 Red International. It does have dualies and a flatbed made out of wood. A 1949 Brockway 260XW, a Continental 579 cubic inch 203 horsepower gas engine with a 5-speed Fuller 5A62 transmission with a top speed of 50 miles an hour. With the help of the Chase Motor Company of Syracuse, New York, Brockway Carriage Works was able to build their first successful motor truck prototype in 1910. The first Brockway to roll out of the Cortland, New York factory was a Model A. Brockway would specialize in building quality trucks from 1912 to their end in May 1977. This truck has a rare wood trim on the door and a wood frame cab. The 260 was a very popular model. This particular Brockway was the first truck that Bill Moon had professionally restored. (1924) White Wrecker Model 40 has a white 4-cylinder 371 cubic inch engine with a 4-speed transmission, top speed 15 miles an hour. White built 1,443 of these wreckers in 1924. This particular truck has 11.6 gear ratio and is probably the most famous, making its film debut on a silver screen in 1991 film Fried Green Tomatoes. This wrecker was used in the scene where the car was pulled out from the lake. The company became the VIM Motor Truck Company in 1915 and produced trucks until 1923. Sales were in excess of 13,000 trucks per year from 1915 to 1917, but dropped off rapidly after that. VIM built their own engines known as the Philadelphia for a time. Post-war models used Continental and Hercules engines. A 1972 Dodge C600. 361 2V Dodge gasoline 178 horsepower engine with a 5-speed transmission. Top speed 60 miles an hour. This truck was donated by Jack of Canova, Illinois. Every part of this truck is the original manufactured part. This is the last Dodge truck sold before the dealership was sold in 1973. The front fenders swinging forward for easy engine access. Most of the paint on the truck is original. 1939 Mack BX has a 519 cubic inch gasoline with overhead valve. Transmission is a straight 5-speed. The top speed was originally 35 miles an hour. Currently, it's sitting at 52 miles an hour. This Mack BX was originally purchased by George Atwell Foundation Company in New York City in 1939. It is believed to have been purchased to help haul steel beams and other equipment for the completion of the construction of a part of Radio City Music Hall. In 1985, Tom Spencer purchased the Mack and completely restored it. The winch on the back of this truck is typical of what would have been found on this truck in that era. The Iowa I-80 Trucking Museum purchased this truck from Tom Spencer in 2011. 1960 Mack B-61 ST. Mack 673 cubic inch end 673 diesel, 237 horsepower engine, 5x4 Mack quadruplex transmission, top speed 53 miles an hour. This B-61 ST was one of the 6 trucks ordered by Ecoff Trucking of Indianapolis, Indiana to haul acid. It has a rare sleeper cab that impales in comparison to the sleepers of today, but it was considered innovative for 1960. He was still using this truck for his business when Iowa I-80 purchased it in 1990. A 1963 Mack B-61. The engine is a Mack 673 cubic inch, 205 horsepower. Transmission is a Mack duplex 9-speed. Top speed 60 miles an hour. According to the Mack archives, approximately 137,000 B model trucks were built from 1953 to 1966, including single axle, tandem axle, triaxle in every possible application. The B model was developed in the late 1940s as a successor to the Mack's popular L series. The B models were modern and aerodynamic in appearance. They were extremely durable and serviceable, and well regarded by truck buyers and operators. A 1926 FWD. Model BT, engine 4-cylinder, transmission 5-speed. During the 1920s, many states purchased trucks like this FWD to drill holes for electrical poles. The earth boring drill at the rear of this truck can drill a hole up to 8 feet deep. This model of an FWD was popular because of its simple design. It was easy to operate, easy to repair. The FWD could dig anywhere between 25 to 35 holes per day. This was a significant improvement over digging the holes by hand. 8 to 10 men would only average 8 holes per day. This is a heavy-duty work truck, weighing in at 13,400 pounds. (1968) Peterbilt 358. Engine has a Detroit 8V71 318 horsepower. Transmission a Fuller 13-speed with a top speed of 70 miles an hour. When this truck rolled off the assembly line in 1968, it was sold to United Grocers in Richmond, California, where it hauled food items for many years. In 2000, this Peterbilt was found sitting in a field badly in need of restoration. The gentleman who bought it back to life took it to several truck shows. After one show, the truck was involved in an accident and it ended up in pieces. Shortly thereafter, it was restored back to original condition. Iowa 80 purchased the truck in 2009. A 1954 Diamond T951S. It has a Cummins 855 Big Cam NTC 450. It has a Cummins 855 Big Cam NTC 450. It has a 5-speed transmission overdrive and 4-speed overdrive auxiliary. Top speed 65 miles an hour. The Diamond T brand has often been referred to as the Cadillac of trucks. It was responsible for many advances in the truck design. These include the fin, tube radiator, the adoption of 7-bearing, 6-cylinder truck engines, 4-wheel hydraulic brakes, fully enclosed deluxe cabs, and hydraulic shock absorbers as a standard equipment for heavy-duty trucks. Even after its purchase by the White Motor Corporation in 1958, the Diamond T continued as a leader in truck design. The family has loaned this truck to the Iowa 80 Trucking Museum for display. 1936 International, model A7F, engine 6-liter, transmission 5-speed. This truck was one of 4 built in 1936. The operator would use this truck's crane to place 15 1,000-pound weights on the scale and record whether or not the scale was accurate. After the final reports were tallied at the end of the program in May 1941, it was determined that an astounding 71% of scales were inaccurate and became obvious that the national standards and monitoring was needed. This truck was in service from November 5th, 1936 to May 17, 1941. 1938 Kenworth, great race truck. This Kenworth was built on May 7th, 1938 and was first used as a fire truck in Spokane, Washington until 1970. The truck weighs 13,800 pounds and Kenworth was originally equipped with a Hall Scott model 177 gasoline engine, but this engine was replaced with a Cummins modeled HBIS 600 with 175 horsepower at 1800 RPMs in 1983. 1930 Studebaker. The model is an S-Series, engine 6-cylinder, transmission 4-speed. This model of the Studebaker came off the assembly line in South Bend, Indiana, and was purchased by Marcus Motors and Company of Denver, Colorado. 1949 International Harvester KB11. International Red Diamond 450 6-cylinder overhead valve engine. Has a 5-speed Fuller Direct and 3-speed Brown Lip auxiliary transmission. Top speed 50 miles an hour. The KB series was manufactured by the International with 14 different models. The KB1 through the KB14. The KB1 was a pickup model with each number progressively heavier duty than the previous, up to the KB14 model, the biggest, heaviest duty truck. The KB11 was a very popular model and equipped with a Timken rear axle. I don't know much about this 1948 red Mack. It has a single axle. (1946) Available CS 250 SP Waukesha flathead 6 engine with a Clark's 5-speed transmission, top speed 50 miles an hour. This truck was made in Chicago, Illinois by Available. It has a Timken single-speed rear axle with a hydraulic brakes. The unit has an Epson Lexus Sanders which would meter sand in front of the rear tires to aid traction when the road conditions were icy. Only 2,500 total trucks were made from 1910 to 1957 before the company was bought by Crane Carrier Corporation of Tulsa, Oklahoma. 1929 Reo Speedwagon EX Reo 6-cylinder flathead Gold Comet with a 4-speed transmission, top speed 35 miles an hour. Ransom Alley Olds founded the Reo Motor Car Company in 1904 after leaving the Olds Motor Works Company, Oldsmobile, which he also founded. When he left Oldsmobile, he was precluded from using his name Olds for another auto company, so he chose to use his initials, REO. By the fall of 1904, the new company began producing its first trucks. Reo trucks were made from 1904 to 1967. Now you know where the brand name comes from. 1927 Graham BB 1-ton. It has a Dodge 4-cylinder engine, a Dodge transmission with a top speed of 40 miles an hour. Graham was in business from 1917 to 1929 in Evansville, Indiana. In 1921, after the death of both Dodge brothers, Graham Brothers started selling 1.5-ton pickups through the Dodge dealership. They had Graham bodies and Dodge parts. Dodge Brothers bought a controlling interest in the Graham Brothers in 1925, picking up the rest in 1926. The Graham BB 1-ton used a 12-volt electrical system when most were being made as 6-volt. Brand new, this retailed for $1,175. An average of 60,000 trucks were manufactured per year. A 1931 GMC T110. It has a 616 cubic engine, 6-cylinder gas with 2 carburetors, with a 4-speed transmission with a 3-speed auxiliary. Has 149 horsepower. This GMC truck verified as serial number 1. The truck was originally owned by Thomas Proctor Company of Long Branch, New Jersey. Proctor built most of the jetties, seawalls, piers along the New Jersey shoreline. Proctor owned this truck until 2000 when the company was sold. It was designed for off-road construction service. This truck was equipped with very large 12x24 tires, a 3-man cab, and weighed 38,000 pounds. This truck also has full air brakes, which was very rare for a truck built in 1931. The transmission offered its operator 12 forward speeds and 3 reverse speeds. Due to the U.S. being in a depression economic state, very few of these trucks were made, and this is the only one of this model known still to exist. Since 1994, the Iowa I-80 Trucking Museum has owned the old Coca-Cola truck. The truck was a 1973 International D300 We purchased it from a salvage yard. This truck has been in the salvage yard since 1951, and the truck chassis and cab were in terrible condition. However, the pop bottle body was good enough to use if restored. After careful consideration and attempts buying another D300, they decided to look for another truck that would be about the same size. A 1944 white cabover model WA-114 was found, partially restored in New York, and was purchased. They are working on it at this time, but hope to have it done by the end of 2015. Come back and see us. I don't know much about this black and red Autocar with a dump box. As you can see, it does have a single axle with dualies on it. Landing gear. Retracting legs that support the front of a semi-trailer when it is not coupled to a tractor. Deadheading. Operating a truck without cargo. Tanker. An enclosed cylinder shaped tank used to haul bulk quantities of liquid. Belly dump. A dump with a funnel-shaped floor for unloading through the bottom. 1957 Diamond T with a 1950 Trail Mobile trailer. It has a Cummins NHC 250, a 5-speed transmission with 250 horsepower. The Diamond T Truck Company was founded in Chicago, Illinois by C.A. Tilt in 1911. The Diamond stood for quality and the T for tilt. Tilt's father, a shoe manufacturer, is credited with the design. In the late 1950s, the Diamond T Truck Company was sold to White Motor Company and operations were moved to Lansing, Michigan. The last Diamond T of 250,000 trucks was produced in 1966. Like many Diamond T models, this truck has a very stylish look with its solid aluminum grille surrounded by aerodynamic lines. After years of service, this truck and trailer were sold at auction to separate bidders. Years later, Bill Moon, Iowa 80 Truckstop founder, was able to reunite the two. A 1968 Ford F-250. It has a 360 cubic inch 8-cylinder, 179 horsepower at 4,000 RPM. Has an automatic C6 with top speed of 75 miles an hour. This Ford F-250 3/4 ton with two-wheel drive is what is called a camper special. It rolled off the assembly line in California in February 1968. This special package was only offered in the 5th generation of Ford F-Series, which spanned from 1967 to 1972, and was made in relatively low numbers, making them increasingly rare. The Iowa 80 Truck Museum purchased this truck from Annie of Hurricane, Utah on May 8, 2000. A 1948 Diamond T 201 1-ton. It has a Hercules 6-cylinder flathead engine with a 4-speed transmission, top speed 45 miles an hour. The Diamond T 201 1-ton was introduced in 1938, costing $1,800. It has hydraulic brakes. Diamond T was considered high-end and was known for its stylish design and quality. Over the years, Diamond has built tow trucks, dump trucks, delivery van, buses, fire engines, and a variety of additional heavy-duty commercial vehicles. The Diamond, known for its famous trademark of a gold border, green diamond with a T in the middle, is a highly sought-after collector item. 1919 International Harvester F 1-ton. It has an International 201 cubic inch 4-cylinder L head engine. International 3-speed sliding gear transmission with a top speed of 17 miles an hour at 1275 RPM. This was only made for 5 years, from 1915 to 1920. A brand new F1 ton cost $1,500. This model is equipped with a magneto and ignition that was very common for these trucks of this era. The I-80 F1 ton truck was the first truck to climb Pikes Peak. This particular 1 ton was the first truck purchased by Bill Moon. In 1919, 1,591 of these were manufactured. In 1921, this model was renamed Model 31. I don't have much information on this black and green Rambler. A 1910 Avery tractor, gasoline farm wagon. It has a Ruttenberg 4-cylinder engine, 3-speed Avery transmission with a top speed of 15 miles an hour. With a 45 horsepower engine, this truck cost $2,500 new. It was advertised to do a work of 6 to 8 horses. This truck is so versatile that it could haul up to 100 bushels of wheat, pull a 3-bottom plow, or even run a threshing machine through additional belt pulley. The solid rubber tires were a $500 option. At the time of purchase, the whole truck weighs only 5,875 pounds. It is one of only 6 Avery trucks known to still exist. A 1941 Freightliner. All Freightliners of this age were built for consolidated freightways, and in those days, Freightliners made less than 50 trucks per year. Like all other early Freightliners, this truck was rebuilt from an existing truck and carries a rebuilt stamp. Bill Moon noticed this truck was posted for sale by Jerry of Washington and commented that it was a rare truck and somebody should really buy it. Jerry was a long-time truck collector. Jerry believed, as did Bill Moon, that old trucks are significant pieces of history and shouldn't be scrapped. A few years later, that truck was for sale again, and at this time, that Iowa 80 purchased the truck. In this case, it was a Fageol that rebuilt into a Freightliner. As you can see, the front fenders and their distinctive headlight mounts. The rear ends are of Kimpton worm drive. The crane on the back of the truck would have been used to load freight onto a flatbed trailer that was pulled behind. The HB Cummins engine block has a casting date of December 8, 1941, one day after the bombing of Pearl Harbor. It has a Cummins HB 150 horsepower at 1800 RPM, a transmission of 5-speed with a 4-speed auxiliary, top speed 45 miles an hour. Here's a Cummins ISX on display. This motor is designed for years of dependable service. As you can see, they also have a cutaway model so you can see inside the motor. A 1947 Studebaker M16 tractor. It has a 94 horsepower 6-cylinder flathead gasoline engine, and with a 4-speed transmission, it has a top speed of 45 miles an hour. Studebaker started out as a wagon manufacturer in the mid-1800s before delivering into truck manufacturing in 1902. In November 1940, Studebaker began producing the M-Series trucks. Not many were produced prior to the World War II, when production was switched to M-Series military trucks. After the war, Studebaker began manufacturing civilian trucks as soon as possible. Though the design was different, the frame, the running gear, and the cab were the same as the military counterpart. A 1983 Ford CL9000 COE. It has a Cummins Fleet 270 NH series, 855 cubic inch displacement, 270 horsepower at 1600 RPM, and it has a transmission with a Spicer 1372A 7-speed. This particular Ford was the first tractor manufactured for Conway Central Express, a regional carrier under Consolidated Freightways at Ford's Louisville truck plant. The truck started hauling freight on June 20th, 1983, and was retired from service 9 years later with 592,273 miles on the odometer. It was used on a line haul from Cincinnati, Ohio to Indianapolis, Indiana. In 1992, the staff of CCX Toledo shop restored the truck to its original glory. Conway Incorporated graciously donated this truck to the I-80 Trucking Museum on January 13, 2011. This black Kenworth was built for speed. The Bandit set a world land speed record for trucks in 1988 on retreads. 150.918 miles an hour. 1958 Kenworth, nicknamed the Bullnose, KDC 925C. It has 420 horsepower Cummins NTC 380 engine with a 5x4 splicer transmission with a top speed of 78 miles an hour. This Bullnose had over 5.2 million miles on it when the previous owner, Ray, had stopped counting in 1998. Ray purchased the truck brand new for $25,000, which was expensive for that time. The Bullnose has had many updates through the years. The original wheelbase of 264 inches was shortened to 224 inches, and the engine and transmission has also been updated. Ray generously donated this truck to I-80 Trucking Museum in 2010. 1981 Kenworth K100 Aerodyne. This truck originally had a 435 horsepower 8V92T Detroit diesel, and then was replaced with a 475 horsepower 8V92TA Detroit diesel, and then upgraded to 500 horse at restoration. Hank had 155 lights before the restoration and 232 after restoration, most which are LEDs. Hank ended up taking this over to do a European tour. He made stops in Germany, Sweden, Finland, Poland, Holland, and Switzerland. The Russian visit was canceled due to a war that was going on at the time. A 1927 GMC Big Brute 10-ton. The engine is a GMC 53 horsepower. Transmission is a GMC 2-range with the top speed of 15 miles an hour. This truck was built for strength and durability, not speed. The Big Brute boasted a 2-range transmission, permitting a wider range of gear reductions for pulling power. The truck is also known for its sharp 17-foot turning radius, and they could do that with a trailer attached. This truck was originally used at a grain elevator in Minnesota. The truck was used so much that the hard rubber tires were worn all off. I don't have any information on this big job red Ford truck. They will have more trucks that they'll be able to show once they complete their addition to this museum. On this wall, it has a timeline of a lot of different things that were happening over the trucking history. Thank you for watching my video. I do have more for you to view. Just press on the button. And if you'd like to subscribe to stay up to date, you can push that button too.